Yeah, okay, Lagiacrus is cool and all, but it's not exactly ending the reign of artian weapons, is it?
Help me.
Hello, my fellow hunters. Today I want to talk title update 2. Why? None of your business, okay? Just listen to the fun talk. Okay. I'm sorry, come back. Because one, I mean, it is a fun thing to talk about because it's more monsters, more new things, more wildness, and that's always a good time. But secondly, and certainly most importantly, is I think title update 2 is going to be a big deal. Not in the sense that the update itself is going to be big in size, though I do think that's the case, but big in terms of letting us know where they're going with Wilds' title updates. Because if you look down Base World's title updates, they were solid, right? But it was one monster. It was a Deviljho, then it was a Kulve, then we got like Behemoth and Leshen, and I feel like I've awkwardly forgotten someone who's probably really sad about it. In any case, the general structure was a single monster that brought what it's brought, and there was nothing inherently wrong with that. Kulve just by herself changed everything with her entire deal. And then there was of course the extras, your arch-tempereds, the events, and so on and so forth. But then if you look ahead to something like Iceborne, you started getting a lot of pairs. Yes, Rajang by himself, but he also came with a new whole area of the Guiding Lands, but then a pair of Stygian and Sapphi, a pair of Raging and Furious, a pair of Elatrion and Frostfang. We started to get to a little bit more meat on the old bone. And then Rise and Sunbreak kind of went crazy with it. Rise, I think, is hard to use as an example because it was essentially finishing the game with everything that happened. But I mean, Sunbreak's first title update was 4 monsters. Its second title update was 3 monsters if you count Risen, and you should count Risen because it's its own monster on the grand list of all monsters. So what's Wilds gonna do? Is it gonna be a big lot of multi-monster title updates, or are we gonna settle into a more familiar one monster at a time? I think his title update 1 doesn't really tell us a lot, because Shia was already in the game, but not really a real monster at high rank, and then, yes, of course, Mizutsune was a new addition. So is Lagiacrus going to be by himself? Well, let's go over everything we do know about in Title Update 2 and see what we think. Of course, yes, Lagiacrus, a big deal, one of the most popular flagships and monsters in the game, came 3rd in the poll, hasn't been in the entire 5th gen, deserves to be, almost was. He has the potential to really change up the meta with his armor and weapons, they could give him any and all sorts of new skills. That's all well and good. I've done an entire talk on why Lagiacrus coming back is such a big deal. And it is Lagiacrus. I know who you are down there in the comments. And in any case, we then look at other monsters. Question mark. But it was a bit less of a question mark, wasn't it? Because we did get, of course, this little update in the director's letter that had that all-important S on monsters. And the way it's phrased is new tempered monsters is a separate category, so shouldn't really be part of the S, or maybe it just is? I don't know, it is a new sentence, but certainly the arch-tempered monster isn't part of it. 2 ways to interpret this as far as I'm concerned. Either new monsters means it's Lagiacrus, someone else, and the arch-tempered, or it's Lagiacrus, 8-star tempered Lagiacrus, and an arch-tempered monster. I guess actually hidden option 3 is Lagiacrus. They choose some random monsters to buff up to 8-star, like of course Rathalos or Guardian Rathalos as the classic, and then we get new challenge that way, do what they did to the Apexes but to any given monster. I mean, it's literally possible and wouldn't be a bad thing, and then an arch-tempered. So there are possibilities here, but that S is of course very encouraging, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there is yet to be a new second monster waiting for a reveal, especially as we still, as I say this, haven't even got anything expanded past the tiny little teaser of Lagiacrus putting his foot down. At least on the monster front, we've got a lot more info on Title Update 2 in general, thanks to this letter. So that's already quite nice. Then we have the big one, or at least the big one for a lot of people, and that is your layered weapons. They are confirmed for Title Update 2, and they will mean a huge amount of visual variety in everything that we do. Artians being the best no longer matter, because they can look like anything, and that's really nice. In before, somehow, you can't actually layer Artians. It's just to make other weapons look like other weapons. Can you imagine? We'll also have to see how it's implemented. Everyone's imagining just you own a weapon, you go to your item box, you switch it like you do with armor, but we have had more complicated layered solutions like in 5th gen, so hopefully it's just sort of smooth and not something that's kind of awkward or doing a lot of grinding or that kind of thing. But in any case, an end to Artian reign is definitely a positive and a distinctly inarguable big change. Then something that's quality of life but I think deserves being called out by itself is the ability to now turn off glowing effects that we have asked for a while in hunting outside the hub, and just generally not constantly pulsing various bright colours so you can properly see your armour. I personally like it a lot of the time. I do think it looks quite cool, but having that flexibility to decide is a big step in the right direction, and one of the things that really proves they are listening to what we want. And on that front, I do want to shout out the latest and newest survey for Monster Hunter Wilds that is currently live. You can go put your feedback in. You certainly should, because we know it does work. Anything that's overwhelming from us is going to get looked at and more than likely implemented, and it's really cool that this happens. You get your wallpaper, and you can help make the game better, so worth keeping in mind. Then a sort of big one out of nowhere is the ability to properly customize your hunter profile in terms of weapon usage. So I remember when I made the huge mistake. I need to check something. I'm gonna be so sad, but also in a way it will be freeing.
No, you're not free.
No! Damn you, Arena!
How do I revert my save?
It was perfect! It was perfect! How do I load my save? I was very sad because I just wanted Great Sword and Bow, and now they have made it so by default Arena Quest, Challenge Quest, and Free Challenge Quest don't take the weapon that you're using unless you want it to, which is a really nice, lovely little change that just is kind of a we care sort of change, because you don't need to. It's not actually affecting anything. No one even barely sees it, but it does make you a lot happier to know your profile exactly what you want it to be. And getting the ability to reset a weapon's usage is obviously lovely as well. I can't wait for someone to reset every single weapon and just be like, yeah, I got to HR 200 without swinging a single sword. In any case, that's really, really nice. And all these changes, they do add up. Talking of changes adding up, we know, thanks to the letter, that the hammer is getting another huge change in Title Update 2, on this time on a more mechanical level, improving offsets, adding an offset, which is going to be absolutely massive. Connor's going to be very, very happy. But that's not all. We're getting other weapons highlighted for proper changes, and for it to be something they can't do in the little patch, which is just like numbers for the most part, and something they want to do in a full-on Title Update, it won't surprise me if Dual Blades is also getting genuine mechanical and moveset changes. And it says other weapons. Dual Blades is just the example, so multiple weapons are getting an upgrade in terms of their function, their numbers, and just overall playability, which is really, really nice to see. Obviously, someone might get their weapon tuned down a little bit or altered, but for the most part, it's really nice to see positive balance and improvements to things that haven't quite worked as well as they should have. And knowing that that will just continue on is also a real good thing to know. Then we've just got a bunch of quality of life still on its way, like Alma being better with your camera, which is really nice. Same with your secret. Better secret controls in general, always good. As much as I do love the secret, it can be a little bit finicky. Getting easy one-button detailed descriptions of skills is really nice too. There's just a lot that they have clearly heard and have done their best to implement, and again, the survey is the way to make that happen. So when it looks at Title Update 2, look, at absolute minimum, we're getting Lagiacrus, we're getting a new Arch-Tempered monster, we're getting a new 8-star monster. it's obviously not going to just be Lagiacrus again, because then they wouldn't separate it. So that's at least 3 things to hunt. We know we're getting some big actual core changes like layered weapons, and the weapons themselves getting altered, hammered dual blades and so on. We know we're getting a lot of much requested quality of life, some of it really quite huge, and of course we know we'll get an eventual festival, the summer festival equivalent for Wilds, which will bring its own new changes, content, event quests, rewards and all of that goodness, new armor sets. That's quite a big deal, and they're tied to each title update cycle. So that's really, really nice too. So all in all, I think even at minimum, right, even what we already know is happening, Title Update 2 is a big title update that will do a lot for the game. But I could totally understand anyone that's like, yeah, but I really just want that second monster, just to really push it over the edge, okay? Hell, I'd even take Guardian Arkveld being brought into high rank as a new, separate to normal Arkveld. And listen, I guess that would actually be quite a wild card, wouldn't it? I don't know how it would play in terms of armor sets, because we already have both of them, but hey. In any case, yeah, I can totally see why someone would think that, but I think bottom line, anything extra now is extra, and I'm kind of chill with Title Update 2 doing what it's doing, especially as, again, we've not actually seen any proper reveals. There might be all sorts actually happening. We know they're going to implement a new whole skill system and endgame progression and all of that loveliness that, again, just speaks to me like Curious Crafting as a recent example. I doubt that'll be Title Update 2, probably 3 or 4, but there is going to be more actual evolution at endgame beyond just here's a new monster and therefore a new armor set and weapon selection. So all sorts could happen in Title Update 2, and personally we just need to see it. But I do think it is going to be massive, I do think it's going to be a big deal, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I just hope more than anything that it's sufficiently satisfyingly challenging. I want Lagiacrus to be a worthy headliner. He is in popularity, he will be fun, I'm sure he will get the nice little upgrade, new moves, and really shine with how they're going to do him integrating water without swimming, but I really want him to feel which might even be awkward, because why is Lagiacrus, technically a Rathalos Apex tier monster, suddenly so much stronger than the other Apexes? I still feel bad for Duna. In any case, that is kinda where I'm at. I would love to know what you guys think. Would you be satisfied if Title Update 2 is just what we currently know it to have, or are you hoping there's one final surprise to come out the bag? That's the real question. For now though, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, I'm goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.